The Vikings, despite being famous for being the bloodthirsty warriors who looted, raped and destroyed everything they found in their path, are actually much more than that. In fact, some historians consider them, along with the Greeks and Romans, the great fathers of modern Europe. Want to know why? Alright, then stay until the end of the video. The origins of the Vikings date back to the Germanic peoples, who were peoples, Indo-European who settled in northern Europe. How do we know this? Well, because of the linguistic similarities between the Nordic languages and other Germanic languages, such as German or Dutch. These peoples, who initially settled on the coasts of Norway, Denmark, and Sweden, initially lived peacefully and had little contact with the major European states, such as the Greek city-states or the Western Roman Empire. The first documented appearance of the Vikings, and what many consider to be the start of the Viking Age, is in June 793, following the invasion of the Lindisfarne Monastery in northern England, where the Vikings looted and murdered several monks and took the survivors as slaves. This would be the start of a series of various attacks, where the most affected were the British Isles, that is, the current United Kingdom and Ireland, the island of Iona, Scotland in 795, and in the following decades various settlements in the Hebrides. That same year, there would also be the first attack on Ireland on the island of Rathlin, and subsequently on some other monasteries in Wales. Yes, they targeted the British as a point. How could they execute numerous raids on existing kingdoms? Well, due to the unfriendly geography of Scandinavia, the Vikings developed a quite modern fleet for their time, with boats known as drakar of shallow draft, which allowed them to dock more easily on any coast, and therefore enter by surprise before the victims could react. At the beginning of the 9th century, the Vikings would begin expeditions to the unstable Carolingian Empire, which, upon the death of Charlemagne in 814, became easy prey as the civil wars among the Carolingians began. The Vikings managed to loot some cities that they entered through the Seine-Loire and Dordogne rivers. One of these offensives was the attack on Paris, in which the legendary Viking Ragnar Lodbrok participated. Gradually, they were establishing bases from where their expeditions would depart, such as in the Orkney and Hebrides Islands in Scotland and in Noirmoutier Carolingian Empire. Some became important cities like Corporation in 846 and Dublin in 841, which even became the capital of Ireland. With this, the Vikings showed that they were not content with being simple pirates, but they had the makings of conquerors. And it was not for less, because according to their religious beliefs, the bravest would inherit the paradise of Valhalla. The main gods, as you should already know, were Odin, Thor, and Frey. However, unlike the rest of the Europeans, there was greater religious freedom, as not all Scandinavians were obliged to follow the religion, plus they did not worry about imposing it during their conquests. On the other hand, the role of women was not so repressed. They could even choose who to marry. As for religion, the Vikings were divided into aristocrats who controlled the lands, owned the dracal, and decided on the expeditions. The freemen, who were peasants and craftsmen, could participate in the conquests, but received less part of the loot. And finally, the slaves, who were mostly prisoners captured from the lootings, but their treatment was not as bad as the slaves from the rest of Europe. Wow! Well, it seems that for their time, the Vikings were a quite advanced society. I wonder if that's why the Nordic countries are now the most prosperous and advanced. If you're enjoying this video, don't forget to subscribe to my channel to stay updated with more content. But anyway, continuing with the looting, in the following years, the Vikings would plunder the Muslim civilization and then attack Italy. Indeed, Viking terror was now dreaded not just in northern Europe, but all over the continent. For this, the Vikings who invaded northern and western Europe came from what is now Denmark and Norway. The Swedes, on the other hand, ventured east, where they were known as Varangians. The Varangians used the Dnieper and Volga rivers to explore Eastern Europe. By the 860 SC, they would found Kiev, turning it into an important center in the middle of the trade routes between the Byzantine Empire and